Welcome everybody, Greg here with Laser Bear Industries to show the installation process of the Terraonion MODE PlayStation 1 SD card mount kit. So your kit will contain a top cover, which has been pre-assembled with the SD extension and the mid bracket and all those pieces connected together. You also get a right side bracket and a left side bracket. So this process isn't going to go over doing any of the actual installation of the MODE itself. It's just going to demonstrate the process for mounting the MODE to my kit. My particular PlayStation 1 has a PS1 Digital installed with the QSB 4A X station. So this is demonstrating the physical install, not necessarily the electrical connection side of things. That may be a little bit different based on how your cables and everything kind of run. So first off, you're going to take the right side bracket. So on the right side bracket there is a lip, and there's some screw holes, and then there's this recessed screw hole here. So that recessed screw hole here goes above this screw boss on the console, and that lip runs along this ground plane across here, just so that there's nothing that it would damage if it were to kind of wiggle too much and do something. This is in PETG, so that's not really an issue that you would have to worry about anyway, but it's there. What you'll do is use the original screw for that position to attach the right side to the PlayStation 1. So they usually look like this, little kind of gold or kind of brassy, bronzy kind of looking screw, and you just put it right into that spot and snug her down. This will still move just a little bit, which is what you want, because that's going to help you align the bracket once everything's set in stone. Next, you've got the left side bracket. Now the left side bracket has a little foot here that has to fit in between the controller ports and the main circuit board. So when it's installed, it just sits on the inside just like that. And then you have these two prongs up here. They line up with the screw bosses over the AV jack. And then your other screw boss is this one back here. Now for these, you'll be using the included screws in the screw kit. So there are two different sizes of these screws. You have a shorter one and a longer one. The shorter one is just a little bit shorter. And what you're going to want to do is find yourself two of the shorter ones. So right here we've got two shorter ones, and then there's three longer ones, and I think we included an extra shorter one, but that won't actually get used with the install. And then last, there's two really short ones. So if you take your two shorter ones, you're going to put them into the screw bosses next to the AV jack, just like so. And then tighten them down. And then you take one of the longer ones and it goes into this position back here. Tighten her down. All right, the next step is to place the MODE board in place. So you just set this over top. It will cover up this screw here, so you won't be able to see that anymore. And then you just kind of want to line it up so that you can put these two screws in place next to the disk drive. So there's one here. You don't want them to be super tight, you just want to snug them for now. And we can come back and tighten them later once that's in place. If you have our fan kit, you're going to want to run your power lead into the mode ahead of time and just kind of press it in. Because you need to feed this through the top cover. So next step is to get this top cover kind of ready to go. First, you're going to want to install your SD extension, just like so. And then you're going to feed your power lead up through there. And then your SD extension, you can just kind of give it a little bit of a fold just so that it kind of sits flush underneath everything once you set everything down. And when you set everything down, everything kind of just fits right over top. You could potentially run this just so that it's, since it doesn't need to be super long, we can run it under here and then we put the excess underneath this spot in the board. Because we're going to mount the adapter board for the fan over here. So once that's in place, you take two of your longer screws and you're going to put them into these positions. They should, and this is always where it gets a little bit on the trickier side, and you might have to loosen these screws up to help you line them up, just like so. These don't stick very far into the bottom bracket, and the reason for that is so that you don't go outside of this and potentially damage the flex ribbon there. So we're just going to give everything a good snugging. I probably should have checked that, but there you go. Get it right there next to those so that it doesn't pinch. Alright, and now for the fan board, the idea is to set it here. It comes with a couple of these pointy black screws, and you just use the pointy black screw to make your own little spot for the board, just like that. And then you can plug your mode power jumper into the jumper lead, just like so. And then the actual jumper lead coming from your QSB should be able to go up and under, around, and then plug into there. I believe it's even long enough if you come up over the top like it normally is run with the FFC. You can do the same thing and plug into that side of the board. And then once everything is kind of set in place, if you want, you can mount the PS1 Digital antenna to the side of this bracket just to keep it out of the way. Now, just like with the regular install, in order to put the top on, you have to cut this standoff. So on one that's not done, you can see it's this little standoff here next to the gearing for the opening lid, and that has to be cut off. I tried to avoid having to cut it, but there was just nothing I could do to avoid it. There's just not enough space. So if you're installing the fan installs over here. What you do is you loosen this bracket. You're going to want to keep tension on it because it is spring loaded. You don't want everything to fly off on you where you can't get to it. And then the fan itself is screwed to the bracket, just kind of like that. So it comes with these two little silver screws. You screw them into the bracket to hold it in place. And then you set it into the space just like so. You take your original screw that was holding this bracket down, you put it back into the screw slot that it was supposed to go into, tighten it down, and now the fan is mounted in place and should be pulling air in through this nice space over here just to get a little bit of extra airflow into the console. To wire it up, on the adapter board there is a little black line, which I will show you with this one that's not installed. So there's a little black line. The black wire from the fan goes in there. All you have to do is pull these little orange tabs back, and then you can stick the wire in, and then just make sure that it's connected. And do the same thing with the red wire. Goes into the unmarked side, just like that. And the fan is wired in and is tapping the power from the MODE interface line. And to kind of wrap up, plug your power supply back in, plug your controller ports back in, replace any of the other screws that would normally go in. So you've got the two here. I think that's it from the inside. And then just keep your wires out of the way of the switch. Line everything up. And close it down. If your bracket is a little misaligned, you can fix that by loosening these screws up just a bit and sliding your bracket over. So this one just needed to go a little bit this way, and give them a good tighten. All right. Looks like I might need to go just a hair this way, but you kind of get the idea. Just loosen those screws up, and then you can shift the bracket a little bit. There's a little bit of play in the holes in the screw locations for the MODE, which gives you the ability to kind of shift everything around just enough to get everything to line up and angle perfectly for you. If you're using a thicker drive, or even just using a plastic or a replacement shell, so most of the replacement shells use this latch here that's a plastic, just beefy latch. You probably won't be able to fit this latch into the console. It's just way too thick. So what you have to do is replace it with the one from your original shell. So this metal latch here is what was there in the first place. If you're using a 7mm drive, you don't have to do anything to this. But if you step up to a 9mm, you have to bend this tab down. Normally when it's up, it'll actually hit the drive itself and cause you some issues. So if you want to avoid that headache, bend that tab down So this is as low profile as it can go, and then you should be good to go. I can't guarantee that you're going to be able to fit anything much larger than a 9mm drive in here. I made everything go as low as I could, and it actually causes this bracket to be slightly angled just so that I could clear this mechanism over here with the disk drive. But otherwise, fits in, looks good. You've got the now added fan for airflow. If you take your parallel port cover off, you can get extra airflow beyond what you would normally get here. If you put it on, then it's just going to pull air in through these little side vents to get more air in. It's a little bit more involved than some of our past designs just because of how much of a space, or how little space that we have to kind of work with inside of the case. This has been the LaserBear PlayStation 1 mode mount. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can definitely reach out and we can try to answer them as best we can. Thank you and have a wonderful day.